Hello, good evening. I'm meteorologist Caleb Bagwandin. Thank you for tuning in to this tropical weather update for Saturday, June 29th. We are currently watching three disturbances, one of which is a hurricane in the central Atlantic. We are going to start with the disturbance that is over the Yucatan Peninsula, also labeled Invest 94L. It is being given a 50% chance of tropical cyclone formation by the National Hurricane Center within the next 2 days, 50% overall in the next 7 days. It is forecasted to continue to move in a west to west northwest direction into this area in the Gulf of Mexico, which is known as the Bay of Campeche. In this particular area of the Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche, it is very favorable for development and organization just due to the geography of the landmass. Notice the curvature here of the land. So we're going to continue to monitor that area for potential organization here in the next couple of days. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because the reason we are all here for is we have eyes on what is now Hurricane Beryl. Here are the latest information on Hurricane Beryl, having maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour, minimum pressure, central pressure of 990 millibars. There are your coordinates, and it is continuing to move towards the west at 22 miles per hour. So we can take a look at the satellite imagery here of Beryl. This is the infrared satellite imagery. Notice deep convection surrounding the center of circulation here. I can slow the speed down just so you can see it a little bit better there. So within the last couple of hours, it has begun to intensify even more. In fact, it looks like we're starting to see some deeper convection in the middle, centralized there, a lot of banding, rotating in the northwest quadrant, the southwest quadrant here, pulling in moisture from the intertropical convergence zone, and is wrapping around inside the circulation of what is now Hurricane Beryl. So here is the forecast code of uncertainty for Hurricane Beryl. Pretty much generally going to be moving off into a west to west northwesterly motion. So we're going to continue to maintain hurricane strength by about 2 a.m. Monday morning. It will be approaching the Windward Islands. The first chain of islands here is Barbados to the north. And then we have St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Dominica, and Guadeloupe are all islands here in this chain of Windward Islands, which are currently under hurricane watches. Barbados is under a hurricane warning. And so Beryl is forecasted to become a major hurricane as it moves towards the west, west, northwest. And then by Monday afternoon, it's clearing the Windward Islands and is now moving into the Caribbean Sea, where it will maintain major hurricane strength. In fact, it is forecasted to strengthen even further. So if we look at the actual discussion here, we'll go to that. I can kind of scroll down to the bottom of this. We will notice that it is forecasted to get up to 120 miles per hour, which would make it a Category 3 hurricane in 2 days. So this is definitely unusual for this time of the year. June, we rarely ever see hurricanes in June, let alone hurricanes in the main development region. And so the main development region, I could go back to this map, is basically the region that is going to be kind of outline it here for you. Basically, the main development region is this region here. Try to get all this. This is the main development region. Usually, this region doesn't pick up in activity until August and September. So we are about a month ahead of schedule, and this is definitely record-breaking territory because Beryl's first hurricane to develop or strengthen in the main development region pretty much east of 50 West since the 1933 Trinidad hurricane. So this is very unusual, very rare, and just and we're gonna show. I'm gonna show you reasons why we're seeing this type of development this early in the season. So I'm gonna get rid of this, and what we're gonna now move towards looking at is uh, Beryl. And I'll show you one of the things here that is important to know. And here is a sea surface temperature overlay. It is expressed in Celsius. Basically, Beryl is in this region right here. There is a 30-degree Celsius reading there, which is about 85, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So temperatures in the main development region are in the low to mid 80s, which is threshold for tropical development and intensification. So this is one of the main ingredients why we're seeing Beryl intensify. Another ingredient that we're going to look at here as far as why we're seeing this intensification right now is find it here is the relative humidity. So this is the GFS, the North American GFS model. There's Beryl right there. Notice all the greens around it. That's atmospheric moisture. And so the moisture content, if you look at the scale here, I mean, we're talking relative humidity of 90 to pretty much 100% relative humidity. So that's another key ingredient as to why we're seeing development there. There are some browns ahead of it. However, because Beryl is now a hurricane, it's able to create an environment that is going to basically keep the dry air out of its circulation from disrupting it. It's going to kind of push it away. We can kind of run the model here a little bit, and you can kind of see it just pushes it away, and it actually intensifies in accordance with the National Hurricane Center's forecast. In fact, it gets all the way down to 964 millibars as it is approaching and goes over the Windward Islands. Another thing that we look at as far as why we're seeing the intensification in regards to atmospheric moisture is something called the Saharan air layer. You've probably heard of the African dust. Well, we're looking at reds that are above 10 degrees north, but Beryl is located over here at 70 degree, that 50 degrees west, excuse me, and 10 degrees north. And there's a lot of there's not a lot of dust in the environment around Beryl. So Beryl's in a good area where there is rich atmospheric moisture and no dust to be concerned with. Other thing that's very important is the upper level winds. So what we're looking at here are winds that are basically in the upper levels of the troposphere, and so wherever you see the greens, you're looking at about 5 to 10 knots of upper level southwesterly or westerly winds, which is not that bad for development and maintaining the structure of the hurricane and the outflow. But when you start to see the reds, if you look here in front of it, that's where upper level winds start to become unfavorable. And part of that is due to something called the tropical upper tropospheric trough or TUT. And so I'm just going back in time a few hours here, like, and you can kind of see that that TUT is basically starting to uh, move in tandem with Beryl. And so Beryl's going to try to scoot underneath this TUT and then make it into the Caribbean Sea. Um, so going back to the model, and this is one of the products that I really enjoy using, is the 500 millibar geopotential height. And why this is important is because if you look up here, you see some red, you see blue, you see a lot of lines. Think of this as like um, a pressure chart. And these lines represent isobars, which are lines of equal pressure. Uh, Basically, what we're looking up here in the Atlantic, the North Atlantic here, is something called the Azores Bermuda High. And so that high is semi-permanent. It fluctuates throughout the hurricane season. So the ridge of high pressure is really strong. And so Beryl is located down here in the little blue circle here. So if I play this out in time, Beryl is going to continue to follow that path that the hurricane center has issued, the cone of uncertainty, and it's going to move through the islands and into the Caribbean Sea south of Hispaniola, which is Dominican Republic and Haiti. And then it looks like it's going to move just south of Jamaica or maybe right over Jamaica. And as we get to day 5, we end up in the Northwest Caribbean Sea, where it's going to continue to move in that west northwestern motion. And we can see the southern United States, the ridge is holding on pretty strong there, so it won't allow it to lift too far to the north. It's going to be a gradual west to west northwesterly motion as we continue to go out in time. Now we have at about day 6, Barrels looks like it's forecasted to make landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula. So Cancun and Cozumel could be in line for Hurricane Beryl. Then we get to about day 7, and now Beryl is moving into the western Gulf of Mexico. There was a trough to the north. Looks like it swings by, misses picking Beryl up. So now Beryl is just continuing to move in the west, west, northwest, maybe with a little bit more of a motion to the north. And then after day 7, about day 8, it looks like it comes ashore in the South Texas coast, somewhere between Brownsville and perhaps Corpus Christi. Now, that's pretty far out in time, so we start to actually um, lose the uh, the accuracy of that forecast. Now, here's a look at the spaghetti plots, which are showing basically a general west to west northwest motion into the eventually into the Bay of Campeche here. Um, and then here's a pretty cool image I like to look at, showing what appears to be an eye in this structure here of Beryl. And uh, there's the infrared satellite imagery once again. Um, I'll go back and show you one more thing here. Um, and that is we do have that yellow area that we'll continue to monitor. So if you noticed on the GFS model here, and I'll replay that back, you can kind of see, it's backtracking here, that area begin to develop here in about 36 hours. And then by day 3, we're looking at perhaps a tropical storm, almost in the same spot as where Beryl is located, maybe just a tad north of there. So we'll continue to monitor the Atlantic for you guys this weekend. So go ahead and stay safe, keep an eye on the skies, and have a wonderful weekend. And thank you for tuning